All right, so now let's talk about cloning and healing. It's using that same spot removal tool or spot removal brush, but now it's actually a brush where in the past it used to just be a circle. You could do a dot here and clone out that dot over here, but now it acts like a brush, and you can choose whether it's going to clone or it's going to heal, and you can toggle between the two and decide which one you want. I usually stay with healing unless it doesn't work, and then I'll switch over to clone. Right now I'm on healing. If I do Shift T, it'll switch over to clone. Shift T back again will bring it to heal. All right, so let's get rid of that one right here. I didn't want that. I'm going to hit delete. You just highlight, you hover over the one that you want to get rid of, you click on it, and then hit delete, and it's gone. All right, so now I'm going to use this brush, but I don't want it quite that big, so I'm going to do a left bracket and make it smaller, or I could do it over here. And I want a little bit of feather so it has a nice blend going on. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to paint kind of around this area right here. I'm going to follow the curvature of the sand. And for some reason it decided it needed to clone from that little spot of grass, but instead I want it over here. So I'm going to drag it down here to something that matches more the depth of field and the texture of that sand. Same thing over here. I'm going to come in and I'm just going to do that. And let's see where it chooses. That's not bad. And let me show you the difference. All right, say I'm going to try to take this bench out. I can do that. And let's just, for kicks and giggles, I'm going to bring this over here. What's going to happen is healing's going to try to blend those two together. Whereas if I change it to cloning, it's going to give a direct one-to-one representation of what I just cloned. Here, I'll get rid of the feather, and you can see it's taking that and immediately just copying it over the top of it. So when you want to build up an area and copy it from something else, use clone, but when you want it to blend, use heal. And heal tries to blend those two together, and you add a little feather to soften the edges. But at the end of the day, that's not going to work right there, so let's just delete it. There's another neat thing that they've added in this iteration of Lightroom, and now let's say, well, I'm going to get rid of that stick right there, just drag it straight across. That's what made me think of it. Get rid of that, but now let's say I want to get rid of this tree. And it's really probably not going to work trying this, but I want to show you the capabilities of what you can do now. This is a pretty straight line, so if I click right here, and now hold my Shift button down. This is new for this Lightroom CC. And then hold my Shift button down and click up here. It's going to draw a perfectly straight line for me. It actually did a pretty good job. You know, it's got some issues, and we could work on that. But the tree, for the most part, is gotten rid of. So now I can come over and I can do a new spot right through here. And you can kind of lay stuff on top of each other. But this is where Lightroom, its healing brush, can only go so far, because it's got to take from somewhere else on the screen, and it's got to be able to blend those together, and it's just only goes so far when you're dealing with large objects. Like, I can maybe get rid of Steve, but what's going to happen is it's going to get a little smeary, and that's where Lightroom does a really great job. Probably does about, here's the thing, probably does about 90% of what you're going to need it to do as far as cloning and healing. Get rid of this little thing here, a little thing there. It's gotten so much better. But once you start getting into areas where you're trying to get rid of trees and people and stuff like that, it's just still a little bit limited. So what I say is, yeah, try it. Figure out how far you can push Lightroom as far as its cloning and healing. But when you get into things like this, you really need to jump over to Photoshop. Because this is where it started, and if I jump right over to this one, this is where I got it to with Photoshop. And I'm not there yet as being able to do that in Lightroom. Lightroom, I still got, well, that's a completely different image, but Lightroom got rid of parts of it, but to get rid of the bench and everything going on there, oh, because it's tucked underneath, it's stacked underneath. To get rid of the bench and everything like that, that's a little too much for Lightroom to handle. So get in there and play and push the boundaries, but realize there's some things that you're just going to have to still take over to Photoshop to be able to really clone and heal those big projects. But Lightroom has come a long way, and I'm foreseeing in the future where you almost won't have to go over into Photoshop. But right now, you still got a little wiggle room that you're going to have to go over there some.